Welcome back. It's another episode of the Motor City Riffs podcast with me, your host, Chuck Bean. This is the show where, unlike our Sunday night show, where we play you a whole bunch of local bands and expose you to a whole bunch of new music, this show we pick one particular band and we sit in the studio with them and we get to know them and we play you a couple of their songs and hopefully make you a new fan out of you. Tonight we've got Lisa Hurt and the Consequences I'd like to introduce you to. We've got guitar player Kevin and, of course, Lisa Hurt herself. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hello, good, man, good. Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you guys here. It's great to have you here, Lisa. As we talked about before the show, like we've known each other well over 10 years at this point.
Oh yeah.
I was just thinking about it the other day. I was like, wow, I can't believe it was that long ago.
I know it doesn't.
That
seem
we were
like
playing
it.
at what was that? What was that place called?
The
Future Gallery.
Yes.
That I was playing with my band, and then I think you played after us one show,
Yep.
and you're plunking out Metallica's Fade to Black, and I went, what is this? This is cool. And then you, of course, got me with a couple of your originals as well. So it's great to have you guys in the studio. Lisa, as I mentioned earlier, you've been playing for a long time in the local music scene. What would be, like, let's start with your origins. Where did you start as far as playing music, playing rock music, being like, man, I want to go up on the stage and I want to play?
Since I was really little, I was always singing, and then once I got a little bit older and after I had piano lessons, I knew I wanted to do rock music because I drove my piano teacher crazy because he wanted me to play Beethoven and I wanted to play Aerosmith.
Okay.
You know, we were always fighting over that.
Nice.
So I developed a love for metal pretty early on, and so I thought, well, let's play some metal. I would have got beat up at driver's training if I hadn't have played Fade to Black, because I played Stairway to Heaven on the piano. Nobody gave a crap about that, but they thought it was cool that I could do Fade to Black.
Right.
So that worked. So that's kind of where that began.
Nice. And Kevin, what about you? When you started playing music, like what are your musical origin stories?
Well, I've always been interested in music, and I really didn't start playing seriously until I was around 18. And at that time, I was living in a state south of here. And I took lessons down there for about 3-4 years, a guy named Steve Bowles. And, man, it changed my life, you know.
Yeah.
Always been a huge Randy Rhoads fan. And he started, you know, breaking that stuff down for me and showing me how to figure it out on my own.
Interesting.
And then, and then I turned 21, moved back home here to Detroit, and got back in touch with a few old friends, and it was, you know, off to the races after that, man.
Was it the kind of thing before you took lessons that you like listen to Randy Rhoads or any, like, you know, the metal songs, you'd be like, man, how does that happen?
Oh, yeah.
And just plunking at the guitar, trying to figure out, like, I can get this note and this note, but I don't know the other three notes in between
man.
it.
Yeah. And I mean, when, you know, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman came out, I had never heard anything in my life like that before.
Sure.
You know, or guitar sounding that way, and it just, I had to at least try to figure out how to make a guitar sound like that, you know? And so it took a few years after first hearing it, but once I got my first guitar, thanks to my parents, and I started taking those lessons, man, and changed my life forever.
Nice.
So.
Nice. So, Lisa, you've put together a band with Kevin, and let me see if I can get this right. You had me write it down. Yumi Jungle Goots.
Yes, that's correct.
As your drummer,
yes.
Who couldn't make it tonight. But the three of you are now Lisa Hurt and the Consequences. As I said earlier, you've been playing for quite a while in the local music scene, sometimes by yourself and sometimes with other bands.
Yeah.
How did this particular band come together?
Well, in 2020, right before COVID hit, I decided to release an album I had been working on for 2 years by myself. I did 16 tracks and I did every instrument on it.
Okay.
And I mean, I could have programmed it all into my computer or whatever and still did the solo thing, but it was just too static for me, and I wanted it to be live. So I initially was going to do a CD release party, and I invited like several musicians to learn 3 songs.
Okay.
You know, so only I would have to know all 16, and I had little groups of 3, but then COVID hit and everybody started dropping out and stuff.
Right.
And Kevin had actually bought some cookies and fudge out of my truck that I was selling. And he was like, if anybody drops out of that, let me know. I'd love to collaborate with you. And because I was a fan of his band long time ago in the early 2000s. So, pardon me. So, I got together with a different drummer, and the three of us started playing together, and then lockdown happened. And anyway, that's how it got started. And now we have Yimmy. And
Yeah, so we played with that lineup for about a year or so, and then parted ways with that drummer. And out of the blue, Yimmy Youngle Yutz comes back into her life. I guess they went to middle school together,
Sure,
and hadn't spoken in a couple of decades or so. And
12 years.
right at that same time, he just entered both of our lives, and it was like, I'd never met him before, but it felt like I knew him my whole life, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's a great friend, incredible drummer.
Yeah.
And so it's working out pretty good.
Nice. And you guys have you just released, when did the album come out?
May 17th.
Yeah, back in May.
Yeah.
Called Beat You to Hell, which we'll be playing the title track in just a couple of minutes
Yeah.
here. So when you got together, first of all, because you both have mentioned that you've been in previous bands, name some of the bands that you were in before this band happened.
I was in Detroit's Legends Halloween for a few years. I was in Sins of a Madman, which was an Ozzy tribute.
Right.
It was fun. I was in Acoustic Hell very briefly. I was in Ass very briefly.
The band was just called Ass?
Ass, yes.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Yes, and it was, A period, S period, S period. So, it had different meanings,
Of course.
every time anybody thought of it. But,
Right.
it was all good.
I'm sure naming your band Ass is because you want people to be like, are you going to see Ass?
Yeah.
Dude, did you see Ass? Oh, my God.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it was fun. But you know what? Honestly, they had some really cool-ass song. No pun intended, but that worked.
Right. And what about you, Kevin?
Well, really, the only one that had much success around Detroit was Frank Ridge Bomber. We were together probably 7 or 8 years, and I was lucky enough. 2 of the members in the band were nephews of mine, and the way our age groups worked out, they're more like little brothers to me, So it was it was pretty incredible that we could put together a 5-piece band and have 2 of my nephews in there with us.
Sure.
And we were able to play a lot of the venues around here, and did some shows with Seduce and some other, good bands.
Oh, yeah.
Good Detroit bands.
We played some Seduce between Midnight Metal and Motor City Riffs.
Yeah.
They've gotten a little love.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, that was a lot of fun. And then, life happens and people move on and move to other areas and stuff. And so I was kind of like in limbo for a little while. And then along came Lisa, and bam.
So what is the meaning behind the name Lisa Hurt and the Consequences?
Well, life is really nothing but consequences. And I don't mean like consequences either. Because, people think, consequences is a bad thing. Not necessarily. There are good consequences. There are bad consequences.
True. Very true.
He's a good consequence. Yimmy Jungelguts, he's a good consequence, of my actions, because I got a message at 2:00 in the morning from Yimmy, and it was like a Jethro Tull video, and I'm like, who in the hell is texting me a YouTube video at 2 in the morning?
Like you guys hadn't communicated in what, like 15 years or
12
something?
years.
And
I
it's
didn't
like,
know his number. I didn't even know where he lived.
Here's Aqualung.
Right, and it wasn't even Aqualung. It was some weird song I never even heard. I'm like, what?
I was hoping it was Locomotive Breath, but
it might have been actually,
because I love that song.
It
my favorite.
Very well might have been.
Yeah.
But so I messaged it back, and I'm like, who in the hell is this? I'm like, Jeff, is that you? Because he was the only person that I could think of.
Right.
And then he was like, nope, this is Mooley Clifton, and I'm like, I know it's him. I'm like, cool. Well, thanks for the Frank Zappa reference. And then he was like, okay, Lise, it's me. You got me. And I was like, I knew it.
You knew it was him.
Yeah, because him and I had been in a band called The Unfriendlies before.
Right.
So I always wanted him to be in my band.
Yeah.
Always. And I was always a fan of Kevin's because I loved Frank Ridge Bomber. I used to go see them quite often.
Right.
So, yay me.
Yeah, you got to like
consequences.
Right, you got to like kind of pick out your favorite musicians as far as the drums and the guitar go. Yeah. Now we've mentioned he plays guitar. You've got a drummer. You're playing the piano and doing the singing. No bass player.
Correct.
How
I handle that too.
Okay. Like, is that in a live setting? Do you also play the bass or?
No, in the live setting, what I do is Yamaha's got some cool boards, and because I'm a Yamaha girl, and what I do is I split the keyboard.
Okay.
So this half is piano.
So it's
and this
almost
half
like
is the
a
bass.
Doors thing where
Sorta,
it's like
yeah.
I'll play the bass
You know.
bass part with my left hand or right
Yep.
hand, and
Yep.
Yeah, and I
the
may end up
melody with
getting
my
a
left
foot
hand.
pedal or something because, everybody's like, why don't you have a bass player? Oh my God, I swear to God, we're going to call an album. We don't need a bass player. I swear.
Well, I mean, there's
because-
the very first band we had for Motor City Riffs of Virtue doesn't have a bass player, and the guitarist tracks the bass, and then they play to the bass tracks.
Yeah. And we could do that too, but I don't want to track it just because I know with momentum and things like that, sometimes a track it's just going to run out the window, and if it goes off, everybody's off. So
Well, it's the kind of thing that you have to be very tight. You have to be right
Yeah.
on top of things with that kind of thing, and
yeah,
it's not.
and it just doesn't
it's-
allow a lot of freedom.
It's not a skill every musician has.
No, it's certainly not.
Right.
And I don't want to. I mean, I could probably do it, but I don't want to. How about that?
You want the freedom to mess with things on the fly.
If I want to slow something down a little bit because I'm really feeling that, if it's like an emotionally powered song, which most of them are,
Right.
then I want to be able to do it.
Now that's something I actually wanted to ask you about because that full disclosure for Motor City Riffs listeners, we have performed together briefly.
Yes.
And while it's something I remember running into when we played together, it's something that a lot of piano players run into because when you play the piano, it's very kind of a fluid thing, and it's an instrument that lends itself to solo play very well.
Yeah.
So a lot of piano players, your timing shifts while you're playing, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
How has that affected, or how have you dealt with that as far as this band?
Well, normally if I'm practicing, I practice with a metronome or a track.
Sure.
So I can try to keep as tight as possible, but with the way the three of us are kind of with each other, it's very relaxed.
Yeah.
It's okay if it shifts a little. It's okay if it speeds up, if it slows down or whatever. Because we want it as honest as we can, period. So if that means it's going to, speed up or slow down a little bit, that's okay, as long as it doesn't compromise the integrity of what we're doing.
Right, and as long as everybody's on the same page when it's happening.
Yeah, because when it is, it's almost like, there's the three of us, but we're kind of up here.
Yeah.
Like the music's sort of up there circling. I don't even know how to explain that. It's the weirdest thing, but it's great. It's awesome. I love it.
Now, I'll throw that question to you as well, Kevin. How has it been as playing the guitar to try and adjust to like when the song starts to like slow down and you're not ready for it, or speed up and you're not ready for it?
It's when and if that happens, I usually don't even recognize it because we just seem to have like an unspoken language or connection that you can feel it coming, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's pretty seamless to me anyway. And really, I think it adds a lot of emotion to what's being played. So that it's not just boom, boom.
Oh,
boom,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think we do pretty well with that. And Yuff as well.
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
All of us are just like, he's got a name and it's got some Y's in it in weird places. And I don't know what I'm doing here. Well, let's break into the first song here. And we'll come back. We'll talk about some of the gear you guys are using. We'll talk about recording in the studio, playing live, and all sorts of stuff with
Sounds
Lisa Hurt and
great.
the Consequences. Our first song we're going into is called Strangest.
Yes.
Is there anything you guys want to let our listeners know about before they hear it?
That song was written literally about the whole COVID thing and how everything just got so uber bizarre everywhere. Going to the store everyone was so volatile and scared and crabby and it was just so weird. It was just so strange. So that lyrically, that's where that came from. But it started as a riff that he started playing at band practice, and I was like, "What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?" And then I couldn't get it out of my head. So the next practice, I'm like, "Okay, will you play that again?" And then we messed around with it a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, so is there any lyrics to that?" And he said, "No."
Because if
And
there
I
isn't,
said,
I'd like to write some.
Exactly.
"You care if I play around with it a little bit?" He
Right.
said, "No." So next time we had band practice, we were getting a lot closer to having a song. So that's it.
Yeah, it was really cool because I had written that riff, years back, and it just kind of been sitting
Oh, that's
on the shelf,
awesome.
and
Yeah.
it just hit me that night at practice. Hey, yeah, I haven't played that in a minute, and then she took interest, and I'm like, well, sure, do whatever you want with it. And,
Right.
Yeah, I don't even think it was a couple of weeks, and that song was just about finished.
Yep.
Yeah, and,
it
and
came
it's
together
it's fun
fast.
because it starts with that guitar riff, and listening to it when it started, I was like, I wonder if the song started as a guitar song.
Yeah.
Because I expect, knowing that you play the piano, that most of your songs start with you and the piano, and
Yeah.
then you build everything around it. So we'll get into that after you hear Strangest from Lisa Hurt and the Consequences here on Motor City Riffs. All right, that was Strangest from Lisa Hurt and the Consequences here on the Motor City Riffs podcast. Love the guitars on that song. Actually, love the guitars on the whole record.
Oh, thanks, man.
Because, and this is something I wanted to get into when it came to recording this particular thing, your guitar tone on this record is what some people would call muddy. And typically when people say, oh, the guitar tone's muddy, that's like it's counted as a negative. But I think you're using it effectively because Lisa is playing a keyboard that has a lot of treble that's going to just cut through absolutely everything that's going on. So I don't know if that was a conscious decision on your part, but I think it was a very good decision to have
man.
kind of I wish I could come up with a better word than muddy for it, but it's like got a very rhythmic tone to it.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And just like you said, I mean, her keyboards, sometimes they're like a knife through warm butter, and I wanted to be the warm butter, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty close to the regular tone that I use.
Now, what was that actually a conscious decision on your part when you guys started playing? Is like, okay, I'm gonna have to bring in the low end, to try and countermeasure, all the high end that the keyboards bring in.
Yep. And it was even suggested to perhaps try a 7-string guitar, which I'm not really a fan of.
Yeah.
I mean, to each their own.
Sure.
But it's kind of a, I don't know. I didn't want to have seizures trying to figure it out.
I'll tell you what, you could have fooled me. Because, is it in standard tuning? The guitar you play?
Yep.
Because it sounds like it's in a low tuning.
Yeah. No, we tuned down to a half step. But,
but other than
for
that,
some
it's
of the
just
songs. But other than that, it's standard tuning.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So let's get into the. I'm sorry. Do you have something to add?
Well, I call that liquid gold because it's warm. It's not like a cold.
That's the word I was looking for. It's warm.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a warm
really
guitar
warm.
tone.
Yeah.
And it's
Thanks,
cool
you guys.
because, like I said, it's got a more of a rhythm guitar tone to it, but you also shred
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
through that tone. Like you've got these cool guitar solos and these little noodly riffs going on in all of the songs on the Beat You to Hell album.
Thanks, man.
So it's good stuff. Let's talk about putting the album together.
Okay.
When you wrote the songs, when you started putting the songs together for this album, how many of the songs started as you and a piano, as opposed to like that particular song you were saying was like it started with a guitar riff and you're like, oh, we got to make some of that. That's cool.
Silence is the Knife, which is the first track. That one was just me and a piano, and it was actually supposed to be on Retrograde, but I scrapped it, and because I wasn't really sure if anybody would like that song because it's about the silent treatment because I hate that.
Right.
And and then I played it at band practice, and Kevin was like, "That song is really cool," and I had it in mind, like a whole arrangement for it, but I just never really was going to do anything with it until I started playing with Kevin, and then when Yimmy came along, it was just so. But that one started out just piano and vocal. I was messing around a little bit with that first part of Beat You to Hell. And then he suggested that I remove a note, and then he was like, wait a minute, got the guitar. He had a guitar, and then that song came together. Letting Go started out something called Jackal. That I had sent in an email through band practice. Like this is going to be pretty cool, I think. But
Right.
that switched all kinds of the way around and everything. And this guitar riff that Kevin added, it's like the song is in G and it's so freaking heavy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And that's your nasty tone. It's scandalous. I love it. So.
And it does, like, listening to the album, there are tracks on here that I think Letting Go might be one of them, that like there is a bass in there. It sounds like there is a bass guitar in there.
Yeah.
So did you guys record a bass guitar on some of the tracks?
No, that's all her left
all
hand,
me.
man.
Oh, so
That's
so
all
it's
me.
so it's a synthesized bass on your keyboard.
Yeah.
And you're playing it over there.
Yamaha
That's
MMA
fascinating.
people. It's a good board, although both
Nice.
of mine are broken. But anyway, I have a new one. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's good stuff.
So we've talked about the putting the songs together. Once you got them in the studio, what was that process like? Did you guys play like live tracks to the room, or was it kind of like studio recording can be, where it's like, let's get the drum track down, then let's get the guitar track, then let's get the keyboards and the vocals down?
Well, I had to do a scratch track for everything, so it was easier for everybody to follow.
Sure.
And then Yumi did his thing, and then me, and then Kevin. So everything was recorded separately. It was really an interesting process.
And it sounds, for what I'm getting from you is that you really thrive on the live setting, the live feel of like the musicians in the room making the music kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with, I just got to play it myself, and then listen, and then wait for everybody to take their turn to play their stuff, and then come back and record the actual thing over top of it?
Well, I mean, it was all right. Whatever was going to make it sound the best.
Sure.
I mean, it was all for the good of the finished product.
Yeah.
That's all. So, and we were lucky enough to, I'm friends with this gentleman who lives in LA, and he mixed our stuff for us.
Nice.
And he's pretty amazing. Should I name him?
You gonna drop some names?
Thanks to Claude Schnell from Ronnie James Dio, I got to know Neil Citron.
Excellent.
And he mixed our stuff for us and everything.
That's awesome.
And we're gonna be going out to Colorado next year, and we're gonna be doing some recording with Neil.
Oh, that'll be fun.
But this time it's gonna be a full length because we got lots of stuff.
Yeah.
There's
So how was the recording process for you, Kevin, as far as laying the guitars down? Like, first of all, how many guitar tracks does each song usually have on it?
Well, on that EP, I did one rhythm track and then one solo track, and that was it.
You didn't bother to layer them up to try and make them sound bigger?
Yeah, I had thought that maybe we were going to do that, but it just didn't work out that way.
Right.
So,
well, and that's the kind of thing too that like you hear like big famous musicians will put like 20 guitar tracks on there. I was like, I'm paying for studio time. I can't afford to do that.
Right. Well, and not only that too. I mean, it's always kind of been my mantra or whatever that I don't really want to do something in the studio that I can't necessarily do live.
But man.
Yeah. And like what you guys were just talking about, I really had to like take myself out of the room when we were recording.
Yeah.
And kind of get in that mode so that I could lay that stuff down like I really meant it.
Right.
And so I think it came across pretty good. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, it's a great recording. It sounds really good thanks to the production, but as well to the performance. I think you guys sound really fascinating.
Thanks,
really, really good on it.
Thank you.
So you've mentioned before a couple of times now that you love your Yamaha keyboard. So let's get into that. Let's get into that right now. I always love to ask musicians, what type of gear are you playing? Like are you just playing the one keyboard still?
Yeah, I did have 2 Yamaha MM8s, which those are a great board. They're pretty sought after, but once their display starts to go, they're just done because they don't make them anymore. And we had a show in Cleveland, and the Friday before our show in Cleveland, both of my boards were malfunctioning. Both of them.
That's rough.
And I mean, I transpose up and I transpose down.
Yeah.
And then I do octave stuff and splitting the keyboard and all this stuff. And so my repair guy's not open till Wednesday. Our show's Friday. I'm like, oh crap, shit. What am I gonna do?
Right.
Can I say shit? Oh.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, he calls me the next day and he's like, yeah, well, this board's gonna be X amount of dollars. I'm like, I didn't even pay that much for the whole damn board.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, is all that stuff you're talking about, the transposing and the splitting the board and stuff, is that, not being a keyboard player, I don't know this, so that's why I'm asking the question, is that the kind of thing that's pretty standard on most keyboards?
On a lot
these
of
days?
synth boards,
Yeah.
for sure. but I had to get a new keyboard
Yeah.
because he was like, well, the other one's okay. It wasn't doing what you said it was going to do. It'll probably be fine. I'm like, I can't take probably to Cleveland, people.
Right.
No. So I had to go get a new board, which is an MX88, which is a really nice keyboard. And I didn't want to get, I don't really need, the motifs have got 5 bazillion things that you can do. I don't really need all that. I need to be able to split the board, transpose, and I need it to be fairly simple because, I'm not trying to be like Herbie Hancock. I'm just not,
Sure.
I just need, but I need more than just a standard piano. So that kind of fits right in the middle. And I love my MM8s, but they weren't serving me.
So
anymore,
if you've got two keyboards, do you usually you set one up and then you have one as a backup in case, or do you set both keyboards up and then use both of them when you play?
It depends.
Okay.
I've done it both ways. I've done it where I did them arrowhead style, where I played one over here and one over here,
Sure.
and or like this. I've done them one straight in front of me, one straight over here, and then did one of these.
I always think of either the Roddy Bottom from Faith No More or the guy who plays keyboards in Guns N' Roses, where they would have two smaller keyboards and one's here and one's here. One's kind of about a 6 inches above the other one.
Yeah. Well, and I at our CD release party in August, I had one set up on top of the other, but I'm so short, you could barely could see me from here up.
Right, that's the thing
didn't
too.
wear
Is
this cool outfit for nothing.
Yeah, well, you're also the lead singer, so people need to see you.
Right.
So you can't just stick a keyboard where your face is.
So that's not happening anymore. If I'm gonna play two boards, one's gonna be here, one's gonna be there, and that's gonna be the end of it. But, And by the way, Roddy Bottom is my favorite keyboard player of all time.
Nice.
I love him.
Nice. We're two for two as far as mentioning Faith No More on the Motor City Riffs podcast. Last episode with Tiny Robot Orgy, we talked about Faith No More as well. So
yeah, I love them.
Apparently, that's going to turn into a thing. I'm just going to reference Faith No More on every one of these, and then find that. That's how we'll find out if somebody's cool or not.
On
the Motor City Riffs podcast.
And if they know who Mr. Bungle Point is, that's bonus points.
That's bonus points. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Kevin? What are you playing?
Well, I've got a Gibson Les Paul that I just recently acquired, actually right before we did the EP.
Okay.
So that's mainly what you're hearing on there. I also have a Flying V that it's a sturdy workhorse.
Okay.
As well.
I played a Flying V. I had a friend in a band that had a Flying V, and I played it once, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit down with them.
Awkward.
They just go whoop.
Yeah, and they're top heavy too, so it's not really balanced. But,
yeah, no, it was uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I've had that thing for a little while, and it's got some mileage on it. So
now both of those are rocking humbucker pickups.
Yep.
In the neck and the bridge.
Flying V's got EMGs in it, 81 and 85, and Les Paul's got stock humbuckers in it.
Right. What about amplifier?
Well, I've got a Marshall valve state head that I use.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the cab that I typically go through is kind of a Frankenstein.
All right.
I bought this thing in '86. It's an old PV cabinet. It's a tall 412. It's a good 4 feet tall. And went into this little music shop, and the guy was playing through it, had the original head on it. It was a PV musician head. I think it was actually a bass rig, because the head was rated at 410 watts at 2 ohms, and but the sound that was coming out of this thing was just ridiculous. You know? And he didn't want very much money for it, so I could afford it. So I bought the thing, took it home. I pulled the grill off. It had 3 speakers in it instead of 4. And out of those 3, there was only 1 speaker that didn't have either toilet paper and nail polish patches on the cone.
Oh my
or
God!
even duct tape somewhere on it. And but that cab has been my cab.
That's like a double-edged sword, though, because on one hand you get a very unique sound, but on the other hand, if something breaks, you cannot replace it.
Right.
There is not another one like it.
Yeah. Right. But, and then, so that's what I've been playing through for, since then, actually. I do have a couple other cabs and heads at home that I've been toying around with. And I think really, for this EP and even the full length that we're going to come out with, the tones that are used on that are going to be just for that.
Yeah.
So the next stuff that we come out with is going to be a little bit different.
What are you using for effects?
Not much. got a Dunlop wah-wah
Cool.
and an old school Boss flanger.
And that's basically
That's it.
if you like, oh, I got a solo coming up. Let's hit the flanger, turn it on, and then turn it back off, and go back to playing the rhythm.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I went down the whole effects rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and it's just so easy to get lost in that stuff.
It really
and
is.
Find your way back home is even tougher. You
Right.
know? But,
Do you use any effects on your vocals or your keyboards at all?
No, not really.
Just straight up, whatever's on the board.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, as far as vocally, I just like a little bit delay, just so it's not super dry,
Right.
But I don't like it when it's too much. It's just like no.
Yeah. So this is a question that I like to ask everybody too, and I'm pretty sure I know I at least know your answer already. But how important is your gear to your sound, to you? Like, could you just sit down at a keyboard and play and just be like, yeah, I'm playing. Like, this is the song. This is what it's gonna sound like. Or is it in your head?
Yeah.
In your head, are you like, no, it's got to sound exactly like I want it to sound, and I need this specific gear to make it sound that way?
No, not really. I mean, I I prefer a sound that's got a slight bit out of tune.
Okay.
So my sound on the MM8s was a honky tonk.
Yeah. So it's got
it was
just a little bit.
slightly out of tune, but it gave it a don't it character. Well, I have a lot of character, so why wouldn't I want to sound?
You
like
want
that,
your music to have a lot of character.
It's a little different because I don't need it to sound like the big beautiful concert grand. I would rather it be a little bit grittier than that, and but I mean, if something happened or couldn't find if my board wasn't available or whatever, I could play whatever. If it's got keys in it, I'm gonna play it. I'll make it work. Even if I have to transpose on the fly, I can do it.
Right.
It's a challenge, and in my little pea brain, I can do as much as I can. But
what about you, Kevin?
I'm not really specific, because I love to experiment. If I sit down in front of somebody else's rig or whatever, I feel like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
And I guess really the most important thing for me is the action on the guitar I'm playing. If it's got a higher action, it's naturally going to be a little more difficult to play. And that kind of takes away from the spontaneity for me, but,
right.
But yeah, I love playing all kinds of different ones,
If Yimmy was here, what do you think his answer would be to that question? How important is like his particular drum kit and cymbals to?
It's everything.
Very
It's
particular.
Everything. Yeah.
Yes. But I've described him as controlled chaos.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's really chill back there, but he's a nut.
Oh yeah,
He's a nut.
you listen. I mean, we'll play another one of your songs here in a minute, but you listen to what he's doing back there, and he's very busy.
Oh yeah,
and not in a bad way.
But it looks like he's just having a
Just
smoke
chill.
back there. I don't know. It's really cool. It's really cool to watch him.
He really has. I have a whole lot of more respect for drummers now.
Oh really?
Because of him, and nothing against drummers.
I was gonna say, what did show me on the doll where the drummers hurt you?
Yeah, right.
Like, what did the drummers you played with before him do to you?
It's nothing like that. It's just not many really stand out, like the Neil Pearts, and guys like that. But to listen to what Jeff does back there, it's like he knows when to hit the bell on the cymbal,
sure,
or when to open the hi-hat. It's just beautiful, man.
That's an important skill, especially for when it comes to drums, is to know what overplaying is and when to do it, to do it and when not to.
Yeah. And and he has a habit of tuning his drums a lot, which could probably get a little annoying to some people.
That's insane. Like, I don't understand how drum tuning works.
I don't either.
I could tune a guitar all day. I can tune a piano, for God's sake. We would go to the studio. My band would go to the studio, and the producer would tune the drums. And I'm like, what are you looking for?
Right.
How are you? What tone?
Yeah,
Yep.
and he knows exactly what tone he wants out of those, and
he gets it.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, he really does. But I mean, he's so particular about it, and he's not obnoxious about it either. He's just kind of very
Doing his
focused
thing.
and he gets in his zone.
Have you guys played any shows where like everything's been backlined, so it's like just plug your stuff in and go,
there's a
or like
couple.
just
yeah,
sit
there's
down,
been a couple.
bring your snare and say, like, how does
breakables?
how does that work?
He doesn't like it.
No. What
I
about
mean,
you guys? Do you kind of bristle a little bit like, oh, I just bring my keyboard and plug it in, or play somebody else's keyboard for God's sakes? Or same with the guitar, like just plug my guitar into somebody else's amp and here we go.
Yeah. I mean, some of those events were benefits,
Yeah.
know, so I kind of like take myself out of the
Oh,
equation.
yeah, 100%. But like, there's always going to be the party of like, this ain't my sound. This ain't my guitar
totally.
sound.
Yeah,
This ain't my tone.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think one of those that we did, the drum kit that we were using, the guy was exceptionally tall.
Okay.
And Yuff isn't.
Yeah.
So when we walked in there and he looked at that drum kit,
How am I supposed to hit those toms?
you know.
My arms are only so big.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the biggest obstacles that we've seen in those kind of situations.
Right.
Yeah.
But and I think we're pretty adaptive. That's one of the things I really like about this band is, anything that comes our way, we handle it pretty chill.
Yeah, we try to really roll with it because there's no pretentiousness and there's no ego problems or drama.
And that's exceptionally important, and it's not something that you understand like when you're in your 20s or teens and trying to play music.
I mean, Yimmy Jefferson or whatever his name is. Today. Yeah, Mr. Malamute, Bill Pontiac or something. I can't remember now.
This guy's got a lot of names.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why you don't have a bass player, because you can't even remember what the drummer's name is, for God's sake, because he's changing it every other day.
I know. He's got to stop that. It's his other personalities, and I get it.
But like you were saying, like it's the kind of, and I think it's the kind of thing that only comes with maturity. The understanding that like if I approach this with ego, I'm self-sabotaging almost immediately from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like I need to accept that like we're all going to come into a room and we're all going to play a different musical instrument, but we're playing it for this one goal.
Yeah.
And we need to put the goal in front of ourselves.
Yeah. It was very, very natural for that to happen, though. I mean, from the very first rehearsal, I think Yimmy was a little bit apprehensive just because he had never met Kevin before,
Sure.
And Kevin probably was a little apprehensive. Who is this guy you keep talking about, And
Right.
I'm telling you, you're going to love him. You're going to love him. And, I mean, within 5 minutes, it was like they were brothers.
That's cool.
And that was the first time, I think, in my entire life, the first song that we ever did, and I recorded that too, thankfully, was a song called "The Gift" that is on the Retrograde album, and it's a pretty straightforward beat. Think like Eminence Front, the Who
Sure.
type of a deal. And so I was like, that's all I got to do. Just play it like it's Eminence Front. That's it. That's all you got to do. And we got through, and it's a 6-minute, 7-minute song, something like that. And I had goosebumps from the top of my head to the bottoms of my feet the entire time we played it, because it just was like we'd been playing.
Was it the kind of
forever.
thing that was what you'd heard in your head when it came to if I could get this with a full band, or was it the kind of thing that like this is even better than anything I could have come up with?
Oh, it was. The song was done and arranged, and like I had said from the get, I was like, I don't care if we're doing anything off of my album. I don't care what the drums are or what the guitar is. I want you to play what you feel. I just felt like that was gonna get a more organic sound,
Okay.
and more honest from them to me, and I just felt like it was gonna help the dynamic to do it that way instead of being like, it has to be this note, this moment. I just didn't.
Well, there
want to
are absolutely musicians that would approach it that way too. Like
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing. It's another one of those things that I don't think there's a wrong answer. It's just a matter of like what your personal preference is.
Yeah, and I as long as it didn't change the structure of the song, if it was already arranged from top to bottom, as
Right.
long as it didn't like change that, as long as the chord progressions are there, have at it, have fun, have a good time, and it has been. It has been so wonderful to work with Kevin and to work with Yimmy as well. I mean, I'm giddy. I get to play with my favorite musicians in the whole wide world. They're in my band.
Well,
I can't wait to unleash that song in particular, because that really has turned into quite the thing.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
cool.
Yes, it has.
Well, let's get into our second song here on the podcast. You wanted to play the title track to your album, Release Hurt and the Consequences, Beat You to Hell. Once again, I put the question to you guys: anything the listeners should know before they possibly experience Beat You to Hell for the first time?
Well, just so I don't get any more hate mail than what I got at first. This is nothing satanic. This is nothing bad. This is nothing evil. Beat You to Hell is about those of us like myself who tend to beat the shit out of myself. Don't do that.
It's an inspirational song.
It
really is.
So, it's and once you start listening to the lyrics, because I think they're pretty clear. I think we got a good recording enough of that to be able to hear what I'm saying. Don't beat the hell out of yourself. Everything's going to be all right. You just kind of got to hang in there. This is a hang in there kind of song, but it rocks.
It does rock. Absolutely. And you guys are about to find out that we are not lying. It in fact rocks. This is Beat You to Hell by Lisa Hurt and the Consequences. We'll be right back with more of the Motor City Riffs podcast.
No worries, no hurries.
Welcome back to the Motor City Riffs podcast. I'm your host, Chuck Bean, and that was Beat You to Hell by Lisa Hurt and the Consequences, our guests on this particular show. Love that track. Very cool track.
Thanks.
My favorite on the record, I have to say, is Letting Go.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really, really dig that track. But
Awesome.
this particular track, if I'm remembering it correctly, you've got this bridge where you play this arpeggio, and you've got almost this not quite a rap that goes over it.
That's
Spoken
Letting Go.
word. Yeah, that's Letting Go.
Is that Letting Go?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And that I really enjoy that part, not only for the arpeggio that you're playing on the piano and then singing over, which has got to be difficult to when you first started doing it, at least. Now I'm sure it's old hat.
When I will tell you, I was walking around. The song wasn't finished, and I was walking around. I was taking a walk every day, and I would listen to rehearsal, and then I kept thinking like the bump, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do there? And all of a sudden it was, I'd rather jump off of a bridge, and I was like,
Yeah, like the rhythm hits you.
Minute.
Yeah.
I could do that, I mean, I was in a hip hop fusion band for 3 years, a rock fusion band. No, not very many people know that, but we were called Psychotropia. So I mean, and those cats were great. They all could rap, and I mean, I would always sing mine because I was too chicken to speak it.
Right.
And this time I was like, no, I'm gonna speak it because I think it needs to be said. Because that was all about letting go.
I dig that. There's 5 tracks on the album, and I wanted to ask you about the 5th track. It's called Moment of Silence, and it's just a minute of music. It's just it's like filler is not the right word, but it's not quite a song. What's going on there?
I'm so glad that you asked about that, because if you listen to that, it's actually the outro to Silence is the Knife. I just added vocal harmonies over top of it as my nod to Mr. Mike Patton.
Interesting.
So that's what that is.
I feel like a fool because I did not catch that.
Nobody has caught it yet. Nobody has caught it.
So you're getting it's exclusive right here on the Motor City.
So yes,
right.
So that's what track number 5
now
is.
I have to go back and check it out just
Yeah,
to
'cause
play
now
Silence
you'll
is the
hear it,
Knife,
you'll be like,
and then
oh.
immediately play Moment of Silence after it because it did not click.
Yep. That worked.
So that leads to the next question I wanted to ask you, and that's about sequencing. You did that on purpose. You bookended the EP with that because it's part of the first song on the thing. Is sequencing something that you think about a lot because you've done a bunch of albums and EPs and stuff yourself?
This honestly was the first time. I mean, you kind of want to take it in a good direction where you're taking everybody on a journey, especially when I did Retrograde. There was 16 tracks. I had some doing to get that where it was musically, lyrically, and mentally gonna flow right from one to the next, because you don't want to put something, I don't know, you just don't want to do that wrong. But with this is all about the journey, for all of us, I think. And so it was Silence is the Knife just seemed like the right thing to start with. And when we were working on the outro thing, I was like, I kind of want to do this thing with these vocals and everything. And then when we did it, it sounded really cool. And I just thought that would be a great way to end that journey, because it takes you up, takes you through all this craziness and all these crazy emotions, and then it takes you there, and you're out.
So when it came to sequencing the thing, was that something that was purely like on you, or was that something you guys talked about? Was that something you're like, here's this is the way the songs are, this is the way the EP is going to go, and the rest of the band went, hey, cool? Or was that something that you guys discussed about, like, well, this song should be second, but this song is cool, so maybe this song should be second?
We talked about all of that. We talk about just about everything. It's always the three of us.
Yeah, it's pretty much all inclusive.
Yeah.
And band decision wise, and that's another element that I just really appreciate,
Sure.
But so that was the formula we came up with. And originally I had thought that maybe Moment of Silence shouldn't be listed, so it'd be kind of like an Easter egg. So
right.
if somebody
almost like a 90s like extra track kind of thing, where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, there's this fifth track, even
Yeah.
though there's only 4 songs listed on here.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I'm cool with the way that turned out. I love the way that rounds out the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So,
Yeah, and that's something I've done myself on an album that I recorded with my band, where it's like I'm very interested in sequencing. Like,
Yeah.
it's something that is very, very important to me, to the point where I listen to some of my favorite records and study that sequencing and be like, how can I mimic that? How can I, like, you get a fast song and then you make put a slow song before what would essentially be side 2 if it was on cassette.
Yeah.
And then you got to kick back into side 2 with a real
Right.
fast song and like all that kind of stuff. It's something that I don't know what the science is behind it, but I'm always fascinated by it.
For sure.
Yeah, and I try to avoid doing 2 songs that are in the same key, which we don't really run into that a lot because I'm
Sure.
all over the place the way that I play. They make fun of keyboard players and our C sharps and shit. Yep, it's a fact. It's true.
Yeah, I remember briefly playing with you, and you would like retune your keyboard. So like I couldn't watch you play and figure out on the guitar where you were, because you have tuned the keyboard to something completely different.
Amen.
Yes. Yep. and I don't know when I really started doing that, but it was just like, well, why the hell should I learn it in 3 goddamn keys? I'm not doing that. Bink, we're good.
Yeah, it's funny. Just the other night we were tinkering around, and I'm like, "Hey, so what are you playing that in?" Because I'm playing A flat, and then I'm going to B, and she's like, "No, that's not what I'm playing." Oh, but that's right. I got the keys detuned, so
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Geez."
Oops.
But you know what? That's a fun challenge a lot of times too.
Right.
That's really made me think about not what I'm playing, but how I'm playing it too, and
Yes.
and delving deeper into the sounds themselves.
And that's another thing I'd mentioned previously about like setting aside ego when it comes to working with a band, and how I think that's something that comes with maturity. I think that's another thing. Like a younger me would have been furious.
Probably
That
same
what do
here.
you mean you pushed a button and retuned? Do you realize how long it takes me to tune a
Right.
guitar? And all you did was push a button, and now I have to figure that. What is this?
Yeah.
But like you're saying, now it becomes it goes from being a source of antagonization to a challenge to something that's like, okay, well, I'm going to learn something here.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out what I'm doing, and I'm going to learn something new.
Yeah. Our song "Letting Go"
Yeah.
that we were talking about. It's the beginning riff is a G minor. I've never played a G minor on the low E and A string like
Right.
that in my life, but man, does that sound cool.
Right. Yeah.
So it really is cool just to be like open to those kind of things, and instead of feeling resistance from it,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's taken me further as a player,
Yeah, that's
so,
the thing, is that like I said, you learn something
Yeah.
by facing that challenge and figuring out
Yeah.
how to overcome it, and then it's something that you will take with you as a musician moving forward.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I remember when I had to do this one thing. I think that will solve this problem too,
Yeah.
Yep.
kind of thing.
Nailed it.
So you guys played. You guys released your album in May
Yeah.
of 2022,
Yeah.
and then you've played how many shows so far together as a unit?
Oh, not that many.
Half dozen or so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a half dozen, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Was it easy to come from the rehearsal space to just hit the stage? Did it feel natural to be like, well, we've been playing together in the rehearsal space
Oh,
all this
yeah.
time, so like now we're just playing in front of people?
It was well. It was great because the very first one that we played together with Yimmy was at this place called Woofstock,
Okay.
and it was out in Imlay City, and it was this dog shelter benefit.
Okay.
And, so, and a whole bunch of people, you guys know who you are. Thank you. They all drove up from Hazel Park up there to hang out. And, and some of his people and, some of Yimmy's people, it was great. But the cool thing was watching all the other people, because
who had no idea what to expect.
None at all, because it was all cover bands, tribute bands, cover bands, cover bands, tribute bands, cover band, cover band, cover band. And we were like ready to rock, man. We were just like, because
we're going to play a bunch of songs you have never heard.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what I said on stage. I was like, you know what? All day long, you've been listening to stuff that you know. We're about to play something that you don't.
Right.
And I was so excited. And to see complete strangers interacting with it is so rewarding for me and for all of us, because even when we were in Cleveland, this is not a real big place. It's the Sly Fox. I mean, we had a blast. It was a great time. But there was a whole bunch of people, the only people that knew who we were our crew.
Yeah.
and the headlining band. Nobody else had any idea. And so everybody's sitting around the bar, and they're just kind of like, yeah, okay, what's this, some chick thought that I was a groupie until I got on the stage.
Showed her.
But, she was so innocent about it. She was like, oh my God, it was great.
Thought you were like one of the band's girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. I know I follow Kevin around, I mean, I am his girlfriend, but still, but no. Anyway. But to watch the realization after the first song, like, what was that? So instead of people sitting at the bar talking,
yes,
they were watching very intently.
I think that is, I don't know if it's necessarily a skill, but I think that is a talent that you specifically have, because that's how I first saw you. It was a very similar thing of like, oh, it's a girl on a piano. All right, it's going to be like typical Tori Amos kind of, the Evanescence kind of stuff, whatever like that. And then within a couple songs, it was like, no, there's something going on here. There's some good ass songwriting going on here, and like she's got some real talent. This is kind of cool.
Well, thank you
and
very much.
I think the whole band complements that very well. Listening to the record, I think listening to your guitar with her songs or her songwriting along with the drums, once again saying that like there's a very fine line between overplaying and underplaying, and I think your drummer threads that needle very, very well.
I think we all complement each other so beautifully, which is I think why we enjoy every time we play together so much. I mean, good rehearsals are almost always good rehearsals, and we always have fun. It doesn't matter, even if the rehearsal wasn't that great. If my voice is a little trash that day or whatever, crap. But we always have a good time, but I really feel like we all just complement each other's styles because we're so open with each other.
So, as I mentioned before, you've put out a lot of stuff by yourself, much less with other bands like the Unfriendlies or now with this. When you guys play now, because you've only got like a 4.5 song EP to play to, are you using a lot of your previous catalog?
Yeah.
And adding, the new instruments to that stuff?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Which is awesome.
Is there? Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because doing the Retrograde album by myself, I had never heard the song Retrograde live with a band until we played it together. Sure. I had never heard The Gift with a band until we played it. And so it was just like mind blowing. I cried the first time I heard Magic. I was just like, holy shit, this is what I wanted it to sound like.
Yeah.
I had actually written all those with 7-string guitars in mind because no bass player.
Right.
So he doesn't need 7 strings for it to sound heavy. It still sounds so heavy and great. I love it. So.
And it's really nice too, when those songs come out of the closet or whatever, that she just gives us the freedom to do what we want to with
it.
Instead of like you were saying, it's got to be like this, and and then you change it this and that. It's just like free reign. Unless it sounds terrible, and then she reads it.
Then it's like, well, maybe we'll.
Which that can happen,
Maybe we'll change this around a bit. That was another thing I wanted to ask when we were talking about like how collaborative your process is. Has there been anything? I'm thinking lyrically specifically, but has there been anything that like in rehearsal that maybe you've sang a line or something like that, and somebody in the band was like, "What if you do it this way?"
He has mentioned things to me on several times. Kevin has, And I listen because I have been guilty in the past of being a little bit rigid and I didn't want to do that. So I really try, and then sometimes I'll make a snap judgment and I'll nope, stop. I have to really check myself because, I was solo for so long.
Right.
That it was like, well, it was always going to be like exactly what I thought right out of my head. But after working with other people and I just didn't want to be rigid. I wanted to let's at least try it. Even if I'm thinking I think I don't like that, I'm going to try it. I would rather try it and be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, cool. Let's do it that way. Or you know what? Still not feeling it. Let's not.
Right.
Then we can take a vote.
Well, you do have 3 people, so it's going to go 2-1
exactly.
in one direction or another.
Yeah. Yumi hates being tiebreaker, but he'll do it if he has
I think,
to.
it's his Norwegian heritage. He likes to try and stay in the middle,
So you use some of your previous material in this band as well. Is there any previous material that, like Kevin, you or Yumi are bringing to the table that you guys have worked on to like incorporate into this band?
Well, like the riff for Strangest, it had been on the shelf for quite some time, and brought it out that night at rehearsal, and it turned into the monster that it is. But for the most part, we've been kind of like vampiring Lisa's material,
right,
and turning them into,
which thankfully there's so much of it to play with.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular of her solo songs that you heard and you were like, can we do that one? Because that one's I've got an idea for that. That one's great.
Yeah, there's one called Oasis that we've kind of been kicking around a little bit, and
nice.
Boy, that thing's gonna sound incredible once we get it polished, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
So you guys have a show coming up after the first of the year. You were telling me January 14th.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be out at the Diesel. Who are you playing with?
Sunless Sky from Cleveland, Juan Ricardo and Sunless Sky.
Nice.
And we're going to have another band. We haven't made the decision on the third one just yet, but there will be a third band.
It's going to be Lisa's birthday party.
I heard it was going to be somebody's birthday.
Yes, I'm going to be Plenty 5. Okay, no, actually, I'm going to be Plenty 3.
Nice, excellent. Well, we're just about wrapping up here with the podcast. Before we go, is a question I like to put to everybody, and I think it's especially relevant considering that everyone in this room has played in multiple bands and has kind of been at this for a minute.
Yeah.
Somebody's starting a band right now. Somebody wants to start playing piano, start singing, start playing guitar, something like that. What kind of advice would you guys give them? Kevin, I'll let you start.
Wow.
Somebody wants to pick up the guitar and be in a band right now. What would you tell them from your experiences? What would you bestow upon them?
Be open to constructive criticism. Your way might not be the only way. And tone is everything.
Okay. Nice.
Tone is everything.
I like it. Lisa, what about you?
Well, for me, being a female I'm really happy. First of all, let me just say, I'm very happy to see the amount of female musicians that I'm seeing. I'm just seeing more and more and more, especially in the rock genre, and that just makes me super happy. But, to any young females or middle-aged females or any females at any age,
anyone who's starting out,
listen to everything. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one style or one sound, because having a sound that they can't say this is specifically rock or this is specifically metal is fun.
Yeah.
So experiment, listen to everything, because you can learn something from everything that you hear. Whether it's a style of music that you're used to or not, you can learn from all of it. So listen to everything. Give it a shot.
I'm looking forward to what the new album sounds like. Looking forward to seeing you guys play live in January here. And I guess before we leave, where can people find your stuff online?
You can find us on Facebook. Just look up Lisa Hurt and the Consequences. It's HURT if you don't know. And we're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. That's to find links for socials. We have SoundCloud. We have Instagram, Reverb Nation.
Nice.
All that kind of stuff. So
We're not that hard to find.
No.
At least
Good.
they're hurting the consequences. That'll get you anywhere you need to go.
Yeah, the consequences are always easy to find.
I do like to when I pulled you guys up on one of the streaming services, and it's one of the ones that like when the album is over, the algorithm will start picking things that it thinks you will like that are in the same vein.
Yeah.
And that's always really fun with the local bands because you never know like what acts national wise or bands you've never heard before it'll pick up.
Yeah.
And I wanted to let you know that when I was listening to it earlier, once Beat You to Hell was finished, the first thing that popped up is a U2 song.
Really?
Yes.
That's
And
very
the
interesting.
second song I did not know. I can't remember what the name of the artist, the young lady was, but the third song was Silver Gun Superman by Stone Temple Pilots.
Nice.
Wow, that's cool.
Very, very fun, fascinating little thing you can
Yeah.
do. So it's,
Awesome.
I like to do that with my own music too. Just be like, all right, did we nail it? Is Smashing Pumpkins going to be the next thing up? Because that's what
Yeah,
I'm hoping
right.
for.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Kevin, for coming in.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much
man.
for
Motor
It's
City
been a
Riffs
blast.
podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking forward, like I said, looking forward
Motor
to what
City Riffs.
2023
Yeah.
has for you.
Cool, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.